Put It in Your Pocket series, Greek Sacred Sites, Athens, the Acropolis, written by Jill Dudley, audio production by Tom Fisher. The goddess Athena was the patron goddess of Athens, and her temple was the Parthenon. The Parthenon, as we see it today, despite all the wars and vicissitudes experienced by it, still stands supreme in all its ancient majesty, dominating the Acropolis at the heart of Athens. In antiquity, the goddess Athena was popularly known as Athena Parthenos, Virgin Athena. Her birth was a strange one. Her father Zeus, supreme god of the ancient world, loved Metis, a wise Titaness whose name means thought counsel. Zeus was told, however, that son of Metis would become stronger than himself, so, to avoid any chance of that, he swallowed her. Sometime later, he developed an excruciating headache and implored Hephaestus, god of fire and metalwork, to split open his head with an axe. This he did, and Athena sprang mature and fully armed from his head. Athena was the embodiment of wisdom, and the owl was associated with her. She was often depicted with an owl perched on her hand. She was goddess of war and victory, hence her epithet Athena Nike, Nike meaning victory. A small and elegant Ionic temple, circa 420 BC, dedicated to Athena Nike, stands on the southwest corner of the Acropolis, where the rock is at its most precipitous. It is allegedly from this point, with its view to the sea, that King Aegeus, father of Theseus, kept watch for his son's safe return from Crete, where he had gone to kill the Minotaur. They had agreed before he left that if successful, Theseus would hoist a white sail on his return. If not, there would be a black sail. Sadly, Theseus forgot this pre-arranged signal, and his father, seeing a black sail, was so distraught he cast himself off the Acropolis to his death. Athena was also goddess of handicraft, especially spinning and weaving, and was protectress of many cities, hence the appellation Athena Polias, of the city. But in particular, she was patron goddess of Athens. Before Athens came under her protection, though, it is thought to have been ruled by a mythical king named Cecrops. Rather oddly, he was thought to have been shaped as a man, but with a serpent's tail, a sort of son of the earth, the snake symbolizing the forces of the earth. In those days, snakes were not considered evil, but were symbolic of divine wisdom, and Athena was often seen accompanied by snakes as well as the owl. It was during this reign of King Cecrops that it is said a quarrel developed between Athena and Poseidon, god of the sea. They were arguing over which of them should have power over the city. The gods decided that each should present a gift, and whichever was thought to be the most beneficial would be given the city. Poseidon struck the rock in the vicinity of today's Erechtheion, where they say the mark of his trident can still be seen, and from it came a spring of salt water representing sea and trade. Athena, on the other hand, presented the city with an olive tree which offered food, oil, wood, and above all, peace. The gods awarded her the city, which then took her name, hence Athens. In antiquity on the Acropolis, the Athenians believed that an olive wood image of the goddess which they possessed had fallen from the sky. It depicted Athena seated and holding a bowl in her right hand. An annual ritual was held when the people dressed this image in a peplos, a woolen cloth pinned at the shoulders and draped over the body, which they hung with ornaments. Every year these were removed and the wooden image was taken down to the sea for purification. This earlier festival was thought to have been initiated by King Erechtheus and was called the Athenaia in honour of the goddess. As early as 700 BC, a small temple was built, close to where today's Erechtheion is, in order to house the ancient wooden image. The temple was destroyed by the Persians in 480 BC, together with Athena's olive tree. Miraculously, though, the old tree put out a new shoot and grew again. There is still an olive tree growing there today, a descendant of the original. The olive tree represents all that is good, food and prosperity, the olive branch of peace, hope, and resurrection. During the reign of Theseus, who had become king after his father had cast himself off the Acropolis to his death, he reorganized the scattered communities in Attica and turned them into city-states, whereupon the festival was renamed the Panathenæa. Gradually, over the years, the Panathenæa developed from being a simple procession and sacrifice to the goddess to a much larger celebration. Athletic and equestrian contests became part of the festival. What was known as the Lesser Panathenæa was held annually, and the Greater Panathenæa every 4 years on the 28th day of the month of Hecatombion, roughly July/August, said to be the birthday of Athena. Musical contests were later added also. The winners of these various events were awarded amphorae, large jars, containing olive oil from Athena's sacred olive tree. On the final day of the Greater Panathenæa, the festival ended with a magnificent procession, which was a continuation of the ancient tradition of bringing a newly woven peplos, the new robe for Athena, to her statue. The procession set off at sunrise, led by young girls selected from the most prominent families. There were basket bearers carrying the implements for the great sacrifice, others bringing sacrificial cakes, water carriers, old men bearing olive branches, officials, envoys, musicians, hoplites, infantrymen, as well as men on horses and chariots together with the many sacrificial animals. Athena's first temple, in which the wooden image was housed, was located south of, but close by, today's elegant Erechtheion on the north edge of the Acropolis. At that time, there was a king Erichthonius, semi-divine, who often assumed the shape of a serpent, continuing the earlier King Cecrops serpent tradition. Erichthonius acted as custodian of Athena's old temple in which he also lived. The ancient olive wood image of Athena was kept to the east of this building, and, according to the 2nd century AD, travel writer Pausanias, a gold oil lamp burned continuously there, needing refilling only once a year. Today's Erechtheion is impressive with its elegant proportions in the Ionic style, and its caryatid maidens supporting its southern porch was built in the latter part of the 5th century BC. It was at this time, when the renowned statesman Pericles was in power, that the Propylaea, the great entranceway to the Acropolis, and the Parthenon as we know it today were constructed. It was the combined work of the architects Phidias, Callicrates, and Ictinus. Phidias, however, was not only an architect, but also a talented sculptor, and it was he who was responsible for the sculptured marble frieze, metopes, and pediments on the Parthenon, which were the envy of the world. He was also responsible for the 12 metres tall gold and ivory cult statue of Athena, which would have stood within this new temple. Phidias's cult statue of Athena was dedicated to her in 438 BC at the Panathenæa festival. It was this festival that was depicted on the marble frieze by Phidias and ran around all 4 sides of the temple, 160 metres long. On the metopes, sculptured panels, were scenes from the great battles of the past, including the siege of Troy, in which Athena had played a major part in supporting the Greeks with her divine intervention. The east pediment sculptures depicted the birth of Athena, while on the west was the contest between Athena and Poseidon. To the east of the Parthenon is a very ancient sanctuary of Zeus, where wheat and barley were sacrificed on his altar. There was a very strange but ancient tradition. An ox was allowed to approach and eat these votive offerings. A priest then killed it with an axe, which he immediately flung away, after which he fled. Subsequently, charges were brought against the axe, which was banished from the city or cast into the sea. This was the oldest known ceremony. Even in the 5th century BC, it was considered extremely ancient and was thought to have been instituted by King Erichthonius. An estimated figure of 22,000 tons of Pentelic marble was quarried from nearby Mount Pentelicon for the construction of the Parthenon. Today it stands majestically, dominating the city's skyline, despite being denuded of its exquisite marble sculptures which are now in the British Museum. The only justification for Lord Elgin removing the marbles is that, if he had not taken them for England, then the French would certainly have had them. Lord Elgin, however, suffered for it, as though the 12 Olympian gods were taking their revenge. The first calamity was when the ship carrying them foundered off the coast of Greece, and the marbles had to be salvaged from the seabed at great expense. Next, Elgin's wife left him, taking her fortune with her. One of his sons died, and another had epilepsy. Finally, Elgin himself suffered from an unfortunate disease which disfigured his nose, and his career prospects were ruined. It is interesting that St. Paul, when he came to Athens, must have set eyes on the Parthenon when it was at its most magnificent, with all its sculptured marble frieze, metopes and pediments. He preached to the Athenians from the nearby Areopagus, a small rocky elevation a few metres from the Acropolis on its northwest side. It was there that those accused of blasphemy had been tried. St. Paul had been brought there for being a babbler and preaching foreign divinities. Apparently the Athenians were totally bewildered by what St. Paul was preaching. They treated him very politely, and they took hold of him and brought him to the Areopagus, saying, "May we know what this new teaching is which you present? For you bring some strange things to our ears. We wish to know, therefore, what these things mean." Acts 17:19. St. Paul's visit resulted in 2 converts, one being Dionysios the Areopagite. It is interesting that the name Dionysios, containing the I at the end, denoted a devotee of the god Dionysos, god of wine and drama. When Christianity was finally imposed by the Emperor Theodosius II in the 5th century AD, the question was what to do with the Parthenon, this unique pagan landmark in the centre of Athens, which was the heart and soul of its citizens. Rather than destroy this ancient and magnificent monument, it was decided to convert it to a Christian church. By modifying its interior and making an entrance at its west end, and building an apse to the east, which was originally the entrance to the Parthenon, it became the city's cathedral. From being the temple of Athena, the embodiment of wisdom, it was first dedicated to Hagia Sophia, holy wisdom. Then later, it became the Church of Parthenos Maria. Parthenos meaning virgin. From the worship of the virgin goddess Athena came the worship of the Virgin Mary. By these subtle means, the worship of Athena was eased out gently. In place of the ancient midsummer Panathenæa festival held in honour of the virgin goddess Athena. In the 5th century, the Emperor Mauritius introduced a major Christian midsummer festival held on the 15th August, in honour of the Virgin Mary. It remains one of the greatest days in the Greek Orthodox Church calendar. In 1458, the Turks conquered the city, and the pagan Parthenon, which converted to a Christian cathedral, became a mosque. How odd it is that this great monument, what remains of it, still stands in all its marble splendour, with its great fluted columns, and people still come from all over the world to admire it. Instead of only 7 wonders of the world, surely the Parthenon should be counted as the 8th and the greatest. Glossary of gods and goddesses. Athena, daughter of Zeus and Metis. She was goddess of victory, weaving and handicraft, and also protectress of many cities, but especially of Athens. She was the embodiment of wisdom, and in the classical era, her symbol was the owl, Dionysus, god of wine and drama. He was the son of Zeus and the mortal woman Semele. Zeus's wife Hera was enraged by this extramarital affair and persuaded Semele to ask Zeus to show himself to her in his full glory. This he did, which reduced poor Semele to a cinder, whereupon Zeus rescued his unborn son and placed him in his thigh, from which in due course Dionysus was born. Hades, brother of Zeus and Hera. He was god of the underworld. Hephaestus, lame son of Zeus and Hera. He excelled in metal work and made exquisite artifacts in gold and silver. Hera, wife and sister of Zeus. She was goddess of women and marriage. Kronos, a Titan. He was married to Rhea, who gave birth to many of the Olympian gods, including Poseidon, Hera, and Zeus. Metis, consort of Zeus. Her name means thought, counsel. Because Zeus was told any child of hers would be more powerful than him, he swallowed her, and in due course gave birth to Athena from his head, Poseidon, god of the sea and earthquakes. He was brother of Hera and Zeus, Rhea, a Titaness, and wife of Kronos. She was mother of Poseidon, Hera, Zeus, and other Olympian gods, Titans, the offspring of Uranus, often spelt Uranus, the heavens, and Gaia, the earth. There were said to be 12 of them, 6 sons and 6 daughters. Kronos was one of the sons, and Rhea one of the daughters. These two gave birth to Poseidon, Hera, Zeus, and several other Olympian gods. Zeus, son of Kronos and Rhea. He was supreme god of the ancient world once he had deposed his father. He was god of the heavens, the giver of law, and dispenser of justice. He was married to Hera but had many extramarital affairs with mortal women.